What's up everybody and welcome to another video on Ragnarok Online Origin Classic. Today we'll be talking about the Lord Knight, which gotten a very huge gameplay buff from the Season 3 of Temple of Nightmare. It comes from the new weapon on the Divine Armament. It's called the Ymir Aurora Sword. Now, this is one of the biggest changes in terms of Lord Knights that we've gotten since the start of the game. It now is a little bit more than just a support LK. Now you can actually do decent damage with it as well. So I'll be talking about two builds that I use for Lord Knight in PvP, whether it's small scale or large scale. And I think this is one of the strongest iterations of Lord Knight we've seen so far. So let's get into it. Now, before I start, I just want to explain a little bit on how Lord Knight works in this current meta. Now, Lord Knight has a skill called Aura Blade, which is an addition to your attack that ignores defense. Now, in the current meta, there's a lot of sources of physical defense that is just getting way too out of hand. There's almost no way for you to bypass your defender's PDEF at this point in time. So Aura Blade becomes one of the most important tools in an LK to provide DPS to your party. Now, you are not going to be bursting anybody down very easily, but with the addition of Aura Blade, you're able to do consistent AoE DPS to supports, to enemy DPSs alike. It also gives pretty decent amount of crowd control with the move speed slow as well. So this is one of the most important skills, but we'll be talking about the skills a little bit later on. I just want to show that what makes Lord Knight even better than before. Now first, let's take a look at the feathers. There are major changes from the feathers because, as I said, Aura Blade now is one of the main sources of damage for support, for the Bruiser / support LK. So because of that, you do not need to run any form of ignore PDEF at all. I'm running basically what can be construed as a support feather set. You got Light, Dark, Justice, Valor, and Sky here. You can change this off to an order as well if you want a little bit more survivability. But for defense, it is going to be Night, Divine, Nature, Terra, Soul. Now, I have almost no ignore PDEF with this current feather setup, but the damage output is still very significant. I've did comparisons with a high ignore PDEF build as well, your classic DPS sort of feather setup, and I find that as a pretty melee class that needs to play in the front line, you cannot really run it as a glass cannon or as any form of range DPS. So rather than try and chase up for that ignore PDEF, you can go for this full defensive feather setup, and you won't have any troubles killing DPSs anyways because of the additions from Aura Blade as well as new joint beat effects with the Ymir. Now, if you don't know, Ymir gives you auto cast Lion's Roar when you cast 30 Strike, and it also enhances your joint beat. Now there's a lot of debuffs from the joint beat, and it will start stacking up on the opponents, which cause them a lot easier to kill. Not to mention the 6+16 refine is pretty great as well. You have a 2-second immobilize on a 10% chance. This has no cooldown, so you can essentially chain root somebody if they are unlucky. So this is one of the most better upgrades for the sturdy strike Lion Roar build. The equipment looks something like this. I am wearing the Silver Glory armor set. You can also switch this out for the Guardian's Radiance if you want to, but I'm playing this as a Bruiser / semi DPS. So I'd be using Silver Glory. You can also use Silver Oath if you want to. Again, Guardian's Radiance, this is one of the best armor sets if you want to use the LK as just a full-on crowd control machine or a semi-support. Guardian's Radiance will be the best for you. For shield, you can either use Shadow Claws or Valkyrie Shield, and for the weapon, it has to be the Ymir. Accessories wise, there are a few options out there as well. The Blue Wing Glove is what I currently am using. You don't really get a lot of benefits from the P attack, but the GCD, the HP, and the P damage works wonders for a consistent Lion Roar auto procs from your Sturdy Strike. Now, why do we need GCD? It is because every casted Sturdy Strike will auto cast a Lion's Roar, as you can see. And the Lion Roar, auto-casted Lion Roar has a 0.5 second cooldown. So there's a few ways to go about this. You can either go for a 0.5 second enough GCD and Agi for a 0.5 second sturdy strike, which means that for every sturdy strike you use, there's going to be a Lion Roar procced out. Like you can see here, this is min-max to in a sense that every sturdy strike will have a Lion's Roar, so there's no wasted burst DPS there. You can also try and achieve very high Agi to achieve 0.25 seconds on your sturdy strike, which means that for every 2 sturdy strikes, 1 Lion's Roar will come out, but that is a lot harder to achieve, and you would have to sacrifice a lot of the stats as well. So I prefer to just go for the 0.5. You get to maintain your sturdy strike damage reduction from your second job skill. You also still get to get Lion Roar and constantly just be proccing the Aura Blade effect on towards the opponent. Now, Aura Blade scales in a couple of ways. Now, Aura Blade does not... There's a few stats that do not scale with Aura Blade. Aura Blade is not affected by P attack. It is not affected by ignore P def. So the only few ways to increase Aura Blade damage is from P damage, size ratio damage, as well as PvP damage bonus. Now, taking all these into account, it means that you do not need any P attack at all. You can just increase your defensive stats plus P damage, size, and race, and that gives you an idea on how to build more damage on the Aura Blade. Basically, you want as high P damage as possible, which is generally not a big issue for LK. LK has so much free P damage. As you can see here, the base is 138, and once I use up all the buffs, you'll be reaching 160. You have 30% free P damage from just your buffs. Now, ideally, you want to reach as high as possible on this. So just make sure that you equip everything that gives as much P damage as possible if you're going for the DPS route. With that in mind, for the cards, this is what I am currently using. I'm using Hydra's for the weapon. It gives both ratio damage as well as P damage. You can also use Archer Skeleton if you come from a Paladin path. For shield, it's going to be Procs. For armor, I'm currently using Cornodas because my Dimensional Drill Party now no longer has a bio. You can also use pretty much any sort of armor if you want to, but I'm preferring using Cornodas. Shield, I'm using Vagabond Move for the extra 5% P damage that it gives, and the secondary cloak card, I am switching between different utility cards like Jack, Dustiness, depending on what sort of opponents I meet. For shoes, it's going to be Double Moonlight. For accessories, there's a few options here for the accessories. Furious Purporing works pretty well if you are one of the few people that likes to chase people and stick to people. Furious Purporing does stack with Lord Knight. Lord Knight's charge skill. Now you can have 2 charge attacks. You can have 1 in your manual and 1 from your movement skill. So with this change in mind, this is a pretty recent change as well. You can have double charge attack. As you can see, they have separate cooldowns and you can use charge attack twice with the Furious Purporing card. Swift Mantis is a great card as well because it gives you a little bit more P damage that is required and also Agi for your Sturdy Strike global cooldown. Now, I don't use Injustice or Greatest General here because once again, Aura Blade does not scale with P attack, and one of the main damage sources for this current build with the Aura Blade as the primary DPS, it does not care about P attack at all. Now, you can use Stemworm as well. You can use Bongun if you believe in the heart of the stun. If not, you can just stick to multiple. You can stick to just multiple Swift Mantises as well. I'll be switching out one of these Swift Mantises for an Illusion Osiris once I get them. But otherwise, these are the few card choices you can have. You can also even use cards like Wind Ghost for a little bit more Aura Blade damage. I know it sounds weird. It works but it works. You can use Horong if you need the sight. You can also just use Spore if you just really want to be a full sort of tanky support LK. Hey, gear wise, I use Illusion Orc Hero as well as Lip All My fire reduction, Goblin Puppets for the size damage, and Doppelganger for the size reduction, Drake card for P damage reduction, and just Baffle as a filler on the costume. Astral Core wise, because Aura Blade does not scale with P attack, I did not go for any levels in Sagita. I rather have higher levels in this damage versus all race that helps out a lot. All of these substats doesn't really matter because again, P attack doesn't really matter. You only care about the P def over here. Still, you get a little bit of PV damage bonus here, but it is not one of the more important stats for LK. Defensive wise, it's always gonna be Alvara as well as Divinia. It's almost level 10 for both. And for medals, you can really just go for no P attack at all and go for reduction, P-Def, M-Def, heroism for the P damage, as well as Medal of Hope for the PvP damage stats. Skill build wise, there are two main skill builds that I do go for, and it is a preference. You can also mix and match or depending on what sort of skills you use the most. This is my dimensional drill skill build. I go for Fatal Blow because the stun can come in clutch sometimes, especially when you get a lucky stun on a priest or a support. It can be the game changer between winning and losing a game, so that's why for smaller scale I do prefer going for Fatal Blow, and because of that I won't have any levels in increased recuperative power. I have Provoke still max because one of my DPSs in my party is a Doram, so they will benefit from the reduced P-Def. Now if your party doesn't run with a physical DPS, you don't need to use Doram, and you can just go for example, just more levels in increased recuperative power, or you can just go for anything else really for the first job. For second job, it is pretty stock standard. Riding, Cavalier Mastery, Charge Attack, Sword Quicken level 5 just to unlock pairing. You got 30 Strike, Lightning Roar, and Iron Will. A little bit lack of stats here, but lack of skill points, but we take it from the Trend second job. Now, level 10 in Aura Blade, level 5 in Hit Crush to unlock Joint Beat. You have level 10 in Concentration for the P damage bonus that it gives you. P damage bonus that it gives you. You have Rune of Faith pairing and Berserk, and Joint Beat just at level 2. Now, if you are playing at a large scale, or if you don't really care about doing lower DPS, as long as you provide the all the debuffs that you can give, then this is the build that I generally go for large scale PvP. Now, no levels in Fatal Blow because the stuns ladder a lot less in large scale PvP. Same thing, I have Provoke level up to max. I have Magnum Break level just for I believe it's Aura Blade that needs Magnum Break. Increased recuperative power this time, it's maxed out so that I can have some self-healing with the Tension Relax. Second job wise, lower level in Lion Roar because again, I don't really care about the damage if I'm playing in large scale. I'm just there to CC, debuff, slow everybody down, and let Aura Blade do the rest. Now, third job wise, max level in Tension Relax, more levels up in Joint Beat for higher chances of providing debuffs. Concentration only at level 1 because again, if you're running at a large scale, you don't really need to care too much about the P damage, and that's why concentration is only there to constantly have Endure up as a permanent buff. Pairing Berserk, Rune of Faith still maxed out, and that is this is my Guild League build or large scale PvP build. Gameplay wise, the LK is very simple in terms of gameplay. You want to be the tanky frontline, look for the targets that your team wants to focus on so you can start stacking debuffs on them. Use Provoke if you have a physical DPS in your party, and just constantly try and be a menace. The debuffs, the stuns, the slows always become very annoying for opponents to deal with, and the damage output of LK is pretty decent as well. It's very surprisingly misleading, as you might think that you don't do any damage, but the damage, if you compare it in DD, it starts to stack up and you start becoming one of the top DPSs in your party. Obviously, you do not have huge burst potential, but the debuffs do set your team up for victory. For large scale, I play it as a frontliner chaser for the Valkyrie. The slows provide a lot of CC. You can slow down the Valkyrie, you can slow down anyone trying to chase the Valkyrie, or you can just become a huge menace in the team fights as well. That's why I find that this 30 Strike, Lion Roar, Aura Blade, LK to be one of the strongest, one of the biggest winners of the Season 3 Temple of Nightmare patch, and I have been enjoying my time with it. It doesn't have any problems with PvE and with Temple of Nightmare as well, so that is why I am pretty much sticking to this class for the long term. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video on a Bruiser DPS LK. I find that it's really poetic that it came back, you know, a full circle where one of the support LK videos that I had a lot of weird comments about people saying that it doesn't work. Well, guys, it does work even better now because of a few, of course, the new weapon, but now that a lot of people have super high PDEF, Aura Blade starts showing its strength. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.